What's going on, everybody? It's Vaaraiant and welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at another deck profile, and this is probably Palkia's last stand. So let's take a look at the deck profile, starting off with, of course, two Origin form Palkia V and two Palkia V-Stars. Of course, this is mainly used for the V-Star ability Star Portal, so that we can accelerate the water energy to our water Pokemon. Then, of course, we use the Greninja for draw and attacking, as well as we do play water energy. And then this is pretty a turbo version of this deck. So we have a Squawkabilly, because we really want to get all the resources out at the start. And then, of course, Fizzdipity EX is always a support Pokemon in decks right now. You probably almost don't find a deck that doesn't play Fizzdipity. So next up, we also have Mew EX. It again helps us with the draw for the 3 extra cards. It's a free retreater and so on and so forth. And then we also play one copy of Blood Moon Ursaluna. Of course, we don't. We usually attack with Palkia or, as we will see, Greninja. So the Ursaluna comes pretty clutch in the end, as you can take knockouts when the opponent is at 2 or a 1 price. So next up, we have two copies of Froakie, and this is really nice because we can then utilize Greninja and its second attack, Mirage Barrage. So the only thing to be careful with this is when you're accelerating energy with Palkia V-Star, you must accelerate it to water Pokemon. So you have to accelerate it to Froakie, not to Greninja, and then of course evolve into the Greninja. So I've seen people do the mistakes. I found myself doing that mistake as well when I was like first starting to learn this deck. But yeah, it's a thing that I just wanted to point out. And now, this is not the only sauce in the deck. We also play the Ghost Slide, you know, the Duskull, Dusclops, and Dusknoir. So 3 copies of Duskull, 1 copy of Dusclops, and 2 copies of Dusknoir. So basically your main strategy is to try to board wipe your opponent, especially if you're playing against stage 2 decks. Utilize Duskulls, Dusknoirs to knock out the opponent's bench Pokemon, accelerate the energy to Greninja, do a Moonlight Shuriken as well, or maybe the Greninja EX Mirage Barrage, and you're rolling. So pretty much you finish these games with this deck in 2 or 3 turns. If the game goes longer, it gets a little bit iffy as well. Now, before we move on to the supporters, if you want to get yourself a cool, custom, reliable, and cheap playmat, make sure to visit matzaccessories.com and use the promo code VAAR20 for 20% discount at the checkout. We're moving on to the supporters, and there's not really a lot of supporters. This deck is mainly focused on items. So, to help us set up, we have 2 copies of Irida, which allow us to grab an item and a water Pokemon. Usually that's going to be a Palkia or maybe a Greninja. And then, of course, we play 4 copies of Iono, so Disruption, Disruption, Disruption. And of course, you know, we can reset our hand as well with that. So, moving on to the Pokemon search, we're starting off with a heavy ball because we have a lot of one-offs, a lot of Pokemon that are one-offs, or, you know, we only play 2 Palkias. So sometimes it happens that 1 Palkia is priced, so the heavy ball is pretty handy and you can get the Pokemon out of the prizes. Then we play only 1 Body Puffin. We do have a lot of Pokemon that are under 70 HP, but it's not our main goal to utilize them. Main goal is to use Nest Ball and try to get out, so that's where we play 4 copies, and try to get out Palkia and Greninja and Fizzdipity and Mew. So yeah, the Nest Balls are really much more important in this deck. And next up, of course, we have Ultra Balls, because we do have a lot of Pokemon that evolve. So a lot of evolution Pokemon that you cannot grab with the cards that are limited to basic Pokemon. So 4 copies of Ultra Ball is pretty handy in this deck, and you really need it. If you could play 5, you would need 5 in this deck. Then we play 2 copies of Earthen Vessel to try to get ourselves the energies that we need. It's pretty handy. You can get 4 energies with 2 Earthen Vessels, and you're surely gonna draw into some by hand as well, so that's not too big of a deal. And of course, as mentioned before, we have a lot of Pokemon that evolve, so we need 4 copies of Rare Candy so that we can utilize the Duskulls and Dusknoirs all the time, and of course evolve into Greninja as well. Now, we play 4 copies of Night Stretcher because a lot of times you will put like 2 Duskull on board. Let's say you're gonna rare candy 1, pop it, and you're just gonna use Night Stretcher to get the Dusknoir back from the discard pile and just use rare candy again and do the same thing. So 4 Night Stretcher is really vital in this deck. Then we have 2 trekking shoes that help us with the draw as well. It's pretty self-explanatory. We can discard items that we don't need and pick up items. So yeah, maybe you can find some better use for the trekking shoes, but we do play a lot of items and the stadiums later as well we will reveal. That's why it's good that we have items. Sorry. And now counter catcher, 1 copy of Plus Vacuum, that always helps. 1 copy of Switch, and our ace pack of choice, of course, is nothing else but the Prime Catcher. It's just pretty simple and pretty standard in a lot of decks, a lot of turbo decks especially, because this deck it's not like considered turbo as Raging Bolt or Miraidon, but it's one of the more turbo versions as well, and it thrives especially against the stage 2 decks. And then, the last but not least, we have 3 stadiums, 3 Pokestop to get all the items here from the Pokestop. And at the end, we also reveal the energy count. So if you have been calculating and using Matz, then you know that we are using 7 water energy, and yeah, you need 3 in the discard for the V-Star portal, and yeah, 7 is a nice number. Sometimes you might want 1 more, especially if some get prized. It's maybe hard to get them out, but it's not that big of a deal. When I played it on TCG Live, with 7 energy, you can do a lot of good things. So this is it for the PALKIA VSTAR deck profile. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments if you're gonna use this 60 or maybe change something and try it, and let me know how it goes. If you want to see more deck profiles, then of course check out on the channel and the pinned comment. There will be a playlist of them as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Good.